All right, we are in record mode and welcome back to the 2020 Holistic Empowerment Series. I'm your host for this series, Chrissy Key Rollins, and this is a contribution on behalf of myself to support you during uncertain times. This is a course that is available by donation or for free, so please continue to pass along the invitation to others that you feel could benefit from the empowering messages that I'm bringing throughout this series. And today we're in class 3. So let me hop this way. Today we're in class 3, which is focused on understanding empaths. And today what we are going to do together is that we're going to discover what it means to be empathic and have a deeper understanding as to how to recognize if you are an empath. Now, who am I and why am I teaching this course? For a bigger introduction as to who I am, please go back and visit class 1, the 3 keys to instant empowerment, where you can find out a little bit more about me. But speaking specifically to this empathic course, who am I and why am I teaching this? Well, I am someone who has gone through life finding it to be very overwhelming. Anybody who has followed me for a bit is pretty familiar with me saying that. And one of the things that I noticed along the way is that when other people and other circumstances were to come about that were chaotic, disordered, ill at ease, it would have a physical, emotional impact on me. I would feel it within my body. Even if I was having a great day, I would find myself all of a sudden now overwhelmed, now carrying the panic, the fear, the worry that the other person has. And it was very challenging for me to be able to find my footing, maintain my ground, and staying grounded and really rooted and centered within myself. I was very susceptible to what was happening with other people and circumstances around me. And over time, I better understood what lies behind the seen aspect of our material 3D physical world. And I began to understand the energy that is behind it and how that energy interweaves, connects, influences other things. And as I started to understand this better and started to incorporate some new perspectives, which I'll be sharing with you today, into my life, I found that not only was I more at peace, grounded, centered within myself, I knew what to do with what was coming up inside of me. And I also was not as affected, and still to this day continue to integrate. So I become less and less and less affected by the choices, actions, reactions, circumstances that other people and what's happening around me bring about into my world. So I thought that this would be a very timely conversation to have at the time of this live recording. We're going through a pandemic throughout our society and globally, and we are facing unprecedented uncertainty within our society and within our day-to-day life experience. So I thought that this would be very helpful, little peek. We're just going to crack the door open today. I'll invite you to do a deeper dive, but we're just going to crack the door open today to start a conversation around what does it mean? What does it mean to be empathic, and how can you recognize if you are an empath? So join me for this conversation. And if you find value in this, please, again, pass this along to someone else, because I feel that the more people that have access to uh, other perspectives, then it's just more considerations. And when we're only working off of the options that we've been presented, then we could be shortchanging ourselves from a fuller, richer experience. So everything that I present to you through this course, throughout any of the courses that I do, they are all going to be things that I implement into my day-to-day life for myself, for my clients, and it's something that I have lived and found great value in integrating. So this is why I'm passing it over to you, just to try on for size and to check it out for yourself. So when I first started looking into empaths and helping other people understand what it means to be empathic and what an empath is, I thought, why not go to the dictionary? I love words and I like understanding the meaning behind words. And there's so many words that we use in our day-to-day life that we are out of touch with what the true definition and meaning is. So instead of incorporating all these other perceptions and misperceptions that can be happening out there around what it means to be an empath or to be empathic, I went straight to Google or dictionary.com, one of those. You could just type in empath, you'll come up with a definition very similar to this one, if not the same one. So when I looked at the definition of empath, what I found there is that it is a person with the paranormal ability to apprehend the mental or emotional state of another individual. To be quite honest, that definition sounds a little freaky to me. So since I was like, that sounds a little freaky, let me better understand the words that are being used to define this word empath. So a person with paranormal ability. What is paranormal? I looked that up too. So the definition of paranormal simply means denoting events or phenomena that are beyond the scope of normal scientific understanding. So again, that hit me with, well, what does that mean? What is normal scientific understanding? If this is just denoting events that lie beyond the scope of the way that we're used to looking at things through a scientific understanding, let's see what normal is. I looked up normal. So the definition of normal is conforming to a standard, usual, typical, or expected. So now let's go back again. So denoting events or phenomenon that are beyond the scope of what is expected from scientific understanding. Now let's look at the word apprehend, because that was the other word that I was like, what? That sounds like I'm going to snatch somebody up. It sounds like, I don't know, something that I don't necessarily want to self-identify as or be involved with. But when I looked at the definition, again, we have to understand the words that we're using. When I looked at the definition of apprehend just simply means to understand or perceive. So let's put this all together then. So an empath is actually you or any human, or at least I invite you to explore the world during our time together and as you continue to journey forward in life from this perspective, so that you can decide for yourself which you'd prefer. So if this is just simply a matter of, if we're looking at the normal, the typical, the usual, then this is the experience you've been having up to this point. So you've been approaching life, you've been viewing other people's emotional expressions and actions and movements from this usual, typical perspective. And when we look at things from the usual, typical perspective, then we're limited with the usual, typical definitions. We're left to interpret other people, circumstances, and events based on our own personal experience up to this point, and the bigger picture of all that can be unfolding can sometimes be filtered out and left behind. So if you want to experience a new normal, one that is more calm, one that's more fulfilling, one that is less under the control of other people and other circumstances, then we can begin to embrace this understanding of looking beyond. So I'm going to go back. Sorry to be flipping through these slides so much, but we're going to go back here. So if we look at this definition again, a person with the paranormal ability, so the person with the ability to go beyond what meets the eye. So if someone has a disgruntled looking face, if someone has a raised voice, if someone's actions are like frantically moving around, we are left to, this is typically what we do, is we perceive that as that furrowed brow means they're upset. The raised volume of their voice means they are angry or mad, or they're being monstrous or manipulative, or whatever it is that we want to put behind that, right? And if I only see it from that outside perspective, I'm left to only define it from that. This is a person who has the ability to go beyond what meets the eye, go beyond what things appear like on the surface, and the ability to apprehend, which remember what that means? To understand or perceive. So a person with the ability to see beyond what meets the eye, to have the ability to understand or perceive the mental and emotional state of another individual. So as an empath, when you are standing in the room, say you're just washing dishes, folding laundry, reading a book, enjoying yourself, peaceful, everything's calm, and someone who is under distress comes into your space, you are going to take that on with all of your energetic being. But when you understand that this is what's happening, then as an empath, you can understand just because it appears this way doesn't mean that it is the full story. And if it is appearing this way, it doesn't have to do with me. It has to do with that other individual or circumstances, mental or emotional state. So understanding the ways of being empathic, you have to go beyond the ways that we have been typically shown or taught the normal, the typical scientific, the usual approach of dealing with somebody based on their physical and verbal and their expressions and their movement, to going beyond to understand and to perceive their emotional and mental state. Now, I find this to be extremely helpful because that means that when someone else shows up in my space, in my physical vicinity, or interacts or engages with me, and they are having a crisis in their own being, then I don't have to take it on as my own. I don't have to take it on as the thing that I need to manage or take care of for that other person. Because what happens for us empaths is that we begin to manage other people's emotions in order to maintain our own well-being. And this is where entanglement happens. This is where codependency really thrives. And this is where those of us that are really affected by the words, actions, and energy of another person, this is where we can unknowingly find ourselves getting emotionally and energetically drained. So if we don't know that there's a way that we can see it beyond the usual normal approach, and we don't know that we have the ability to understand and to perceive what is happening within another person, then we're left with the face value and we have to deal with whatever is thrown our way. So in times like now, when we are going through a national and global crisis, when we are facing uncertainty day in, day out, that is stirring up a lot of societal worries, a lot of societal fears, a lot of individual worries, a lot of individual fears. And if you are finding yourself having a hard time keeping your footing during this time, consider the fact that maybe the reason that you're having such a hard time keeping your footing is because you're actually taking on more energy than what you've been perceiving, because you've only been looking at things at that face value. You've only been looking at things from that outward appearance. And when you look at it from the outside, what does it look like? It looks like it's all coming to you, and it looks like it's all happening to you. So in order to really embrace, I'm just going to flip back ahead here. In order to really embrace your empathic ways, it is really about having a better understanding of who you are, because the better I understand what is within me, the easier I can relax into what is around me. So when you understand that part of the emotions, part of the physical experience that you're having within yourself it has something to do with you because it's coming up inside of you, but that's a whole nother conversation. But there's more to the story. You don't have to take it all on. It's not all yours. You are just feeling it. You are connected to, you are picking up the energetic vibrations that other people and circumstances are carrying with them. So when you understand that that's what's getting tangled up inside of you or shook up inside of you, all the places where you're energetically connected to other people, to other circumstances. So right now we're feeling this with our health. We're energetically connected to the perception of our health and our well-being. We are energetically connected to the people that are within our households that we interact with on a regular basis. And we're energetically connected to all of society and to this global network of humans that we are part of. And when one of those little parts that we're connected with, oh my goodness, look at that. When one of those parts, you know what we'll do? This is how easy this is. This is why you just roll with the universe. I'll just take this down. It's quite all right. So whenever you find yourself in this position where you're getting shook up inside of yourself because of what's happening around you, now you don't have to be at the mercy of what's getting shook up inside of you. You can begin to understand what is within you and why that is happening. It is showing you where you are attached. Just think about I've heard it talked about like energetic cords. It's not really part of my languaging or what I talk about, but just think about this energetic connection. You have a way that you self-identify with whatever that thing is out there that is shaking you up. And that ability to, or that what is the word that I'm looking for? That habit of identifying yourself in relation to this other person, in relation to your finances, in relation to your health, in relation to your job, in relation to your family, in relation to the world as a whole. When those things are unsettled, much like most of us are experiencing right now, when those things are unsettled, we become unsettled. But when we understand that this is part of the process, when we understand that all that is happening in these moments is that we are getting shook up inside of ourselves where we self-identify with each of these individuals around us, then we can begin to rein our energy back in, ground ourselves and center ourselves, get back connected to ourselves, find our autonomy of ourselves amongst this interactive experience that we're having. And we can begin to better understand what's happening within, and it will be easier for you to relax with what is happening around you, even if what's happening around you is not in alignment with you or your ego's preference on how life is. So a new life experience is created when I allow myself to experience life in a new way. And we could take this over again and say a new experience of myself is created when I allow myself to experience me in a new way. Let's take it a step further. A new experience of others is created when I allow myself to experience others in a new way. So my invitation to you is, as you continue to move forward, when you find yourself face to face, you know, let's just put it this way, because then we have the stark contrast. If you find yourself in a totally fine, mellow, cool, chilled out space, and then life throws a person, place, or circumstance in your face that causes you to shake up, I invite you to watch how you typically react. And then I invite you to think about this conversation that we just had and say, what if there's more than what meets the eye? What if this isn't happening to me? What if this isn't coming at me? What if this is showing me what is happening within this other individual? Not so that I can step in, rescue, manage emotions, take on the energy, fix it, save the day, whatever the thing is that comes up for you, or be the victim of your circumstances, but to allow you to have a greater level of compassion, understanding, and to also help you to further define your own autonomy, your own individualness amongst this connective experience. Now, in order to really do this, I found that it was helpful that we had to start addressing life in a new way. And we have to follow a new set of rules. And I put together, shortly, a while ago, a few months back, a fuller story that we can bring to the table. And I did this through the Empathic Healers course. And through that course, you'll gain a better understanding of the mental and emotional state of yourself and another individual. And it will help to give you a fuller truth that you can experience your life from, a fuller truth about yourself, a fuller truth about others, and a fuller truth about life as a whole, so that you can have a more fulfilling experience of yourself and others and life as a whole. And through this course, we lay out a whole new set of ground rules for you to go by, because now that you have this new modality that you can work with, that you don't have to take things on face value, you can start to tap into what's behind it. There's a new set of rules that you can live by. And I lay out all these rules throughout the Empathic Healers course. There's a new way of tapping into other resources that you have around you. And there's a new way that you can approach people, have conversations with them, communicate with them in a different way to give you a different experience without you having to change them and without them having to change themselves. This is really helpful for anybody who's living and experiencing an imbalanced relationship within these close quarters while we're all experiencing this quarantine and this social distancing. And hopefully for some of you, whenever you watch this replay, that won't be happening anymore in the world, but you'll still be able to use this information and to empower yourself and to keep your energy from being drained out. But the Empathic Healers course, it is a really great course for healers, therapists, yoga teachers, new thought leaders, visionaries, coaches, energy workers. It's really great for anyone who struggles with a work-life balance, and that can definitely be heightened during this time where we're all kind of thrown our work and our life together within closed quarters. It's great for people who are procrastinators or lack follow through or struggle to stick to any kind of eating or living plan that really supports the life experience that you crave the most. And it's great for those who find themselves greatly affected and distracted by others' emotions. And if this is something that is of interest to you that you'd like to explore a little bit further, I put together an exclusive offer so that you can check out the Empathic Healers course. I put it at a reduced pricing to make it super easy to say yes to during this time if this is something that piques your interest. And you can go to holisticrestoration.com/empath-special in order to check that out. You can find out full details of the course. It's a multi-class course. So it's a really deep dive into some powerful information that will allow you to forever change the way that you relate to yourself, relate to the world around you, and others that are in it. And I'll make sure that I drop a link in the space below where you're watching this replay for you to be able to find it with ease as well. Okay, so that is pretty much in a nutshell what I had on my heart to share today about understanding empaths in a bigger way. I thank you for being here, and I look forward to continuing this series with you. Be sure to share it with other people, and I will keep you posted on when class 4 will be ready. All right. Reach out if you have any questions. I'm here to support you, and I'm hoping and envisioning for you love, light, and wellness during this time of uncertainty. Okay, bye-bye.